and welcome to part 2 of my Love is Blind Denver podcast coverage. I'm doing a recap and review of episodes 1 through 6. This is part 2 of that very loaded recap. If you missed part 1, then stop right here, go back and listen to part 1, and come back, and we'll wait for you. They're picking up right where Annie left off. We know where she ends up, but there is kind of a drawn out and painful process for her to get there. So this is actually one of the things I guess I dislike about Love is Blind, is that someone is down to their last two or their top two. It can get so tedious watching them parse it out in this kind of ridiculous way. Because what seems to happen over and over again, and we saw this play out with Brendan, that's why I'm bringing it up because I wanted to talk about him next, is that the person who has the two matches somehow lets them both know, and okay, nobody gets mad because, right, they're on a dating show where they're all supposed to get to know each other and flesh out who is the absolute best match for them. So initially, there's always this phase of acceptance and patience with the fact that, okay, this person is talking to two people. But I don't know if it's just time when they know time is running out or what, but the patience eventually runs out with that. And it's so painful because you inevitably get one person who is not done and wants to continue to see the process out, whatever that means to them. I don't know how much more talking on couches needs to be done before you're ready to meet in person and go to the paradise location and at least suss out in person, is there chemistry and do they have gross habits that are just, kind of disqualify them no matter what. I think sometimes I'm how long can you talk to someone on a couch? Through a wall. And I know you have to do this thing where you propose and then accept that proposal. So it's not just casual dating, but it still sort of is, because the whole point is then they move on to Baja and get to know one another. Then they go back to their city and stay in an apartment together and get to know one another. So they're really still just hardcore dating, courting, whatever you want to call it. So I always get a little impatient with the people who get caught up, if they say yes to someone right now, the ceremony is happening right outside the door. They must keep going and crying about the fact that they have two people that are really just great. I don't know. Besides some of the stuff around the wedding ceremony that feels really put on, that is definitely my least favorite. Because it's why are we crying? We've seen this happen to other people, and I know that it can be emotional. There's probably a lot of, wine being consumed and not a lot of sleep and maybe some dehydration in there, but it's just weird. So, of course, typical scenario with Brendan. He and Annie are he discovers they're down to the wire, and that she actually is interested in Nick. Once he narrows that down, I think it starts to mess with his head, because Brendan he's a handsome guy, and he's got more swag than Nick, for sure. And in the outside world, I feel like Brendan would do better at a bar than Nick. You know what I mean? Because Nick's got that very Ken hair, and he's got a look that conveys kind of a stuck-up, not-so-fun guy. Not to judge on appearances, but I just think between the two of them, Brendan is looking at Nick and going, how is this guy my competition? We're not the same at all, and it's messing with his head. I also think it's that phenomenon with good-looking people or people with charisma or people who do match well with others in the outside world, especially those who lean more on good-looking and not so much charisma. They don't have to approach people. They don't have to charm people. They don't have to work hard to get the attention of whoever they're looking for. So they're a little vapid sometimes. It makes them into a less interesting individual. I mean, I've experienced this a lot personally, dating just very good looking people who were a carved out pumpkin inside, just nothing going on upstairs. And maybe not even nothing going on upstairs, but just no ability to ramp up the effort and just come up with creative dates and have conversation. And I don't know, just him talking about that same, what color is the door to our house? And it was, I was like, Brendan, move on. She wants more than you're giving her. And I feel like he withheld a lot of his feelings. I think trying to maintain that cool and sort of removed attitude he usually has. Probably just looks at women from across the bar kind of thing. And it works for him in real life, probably. Or maybe not. Maybe that's why he's here. But it just seemed like his approach was backfiring on him, kind of playing it real cool. And then in the end, when he realizes that, it's too late. He's freaking out. He's basically begging Annie to give him another chance. But I'm my dude, you had a chance. you had a chance this whole time and you were very weak with it. You didn't show her the money. Literally, you needed to, I don't know, what are they, 2 weeks in there? This is like a hot and heavy cards on the table. And it's like all of a sudden when someone was going to take your toy away, I see people doing this on this show a lot. Now they're, no. Like, what? You were my soul. What are you doing? You were my soulmate. And then they sort of, it gets a little uncomfortable sometimes where they're kind of twisting the person's arm when it's clear that they've decided for the other connection. Like when Annie came to him, it was clear in what she was saying that she's given up on trying to wait and see if this connection grows stronger. She's happy to move forward with Nick. He just had a certain amount of disappointment that I felt was self-inflicted because she's been telling you she needs more. She was telling you this. There's this vocabulary they use on the show when they say, I need you to validate me, or I need validation. And I don't think they mean like as a person. I think they more so mean as a love interest. I need to know this isn't one-sided and that you are just as into me as I'm into you, which is fair because if you're going to then cut off communication with another connection, then you really need to not just be implying through the wall that you're into someone. You need to make it plain. So, Brendan, you kind of dropped the ball there, and as a result, you lost your lady to a Ken doll. And Nick is fine, don't get me wrong. It's just, he did seem like a little bit of a love bomber. You know what I mean? He leads with love. Like 1 minute he's in love with Kate, and now Kate's out of the picture because she's not remotely interested in considering conversion or coming back to the church. And so then he's immediately able to turn it back onto Annie. And I thought to myself, it'll be interesting to see her reaction to seeing how he spoke to Kate. I always love to see that kind of thing. I know it can be hurtful, but hey, that's part of the interesting thing, to see it play back, see if he recognizes that he was love bombing Kate and being a little manipulative, and then turning around and kind of love bombing Annie right after it didn't work out with Kate. Oh no, I'm really certain. Yeah. Of course, she breaks up with Brendan. She and Nick solidified. He proposes. They have the reveal. They go on to Baja, and I can say their in-person chemistry is convincing. Of all the couples, they kind of emerge a little bit as the most solid, even if they are just a tad boring. But they do seem solid, and I think it would have to take, by the end of episode 6, I'm thinking, okay, if these two don't make it to the altar, it's going to have to be something that happens back home, be it family or work or something that tears them apart. All right, so we're moving on to Joe and Madison. I didn't really talk about them because their courtship was very forgettable. Joe has a way that gives Playboy. Joe was a lot like Nick that way for me, that he was just kind of, I don't want to say rushing, but yeah, I guess a little bit like kind of just rushing through the process. Like there were people who were dragging their feet, and then there were people like Nick and Joe who were just like glom onto someone and then like, that's it, she's the one, it's perfect. And so when Joe and Madison meet up for the reveal, I just could immediately tell, it made me like sad because I could immediately tell he was trying to convince himself that he was attracted to her. And it just seems doomed. It really does. Like, he was being nice and he was not mean to her. But my prediction right from the reveal was like, okay, this is doomed. And then fast forward to Baja. As the couples go, they are definitely one of the weakest. She has that eye condition, pigmentosum, I think, retinitis pigmentosum, which is really upsetting. She's 26, facing the possibility of blindness, complete blindness in the future. So Madison's reason for joining the cast was so palpable. She wants to try to find someone whose soul she falls in love with, and who also has a heart for falling in love with who a person is and not how they look or any of the outside stuff. Because if she goes blind, obviously that's going to be a physical limitation that the person she loves is going to have to be committed to her as a person and not so much stuck on like what she used to be, which is just, my heart goes out to her that is something she has to just stare down, like a diagnosis that you have to deal with. And then in real life right now, it's causing problems for her. Like the poor girl at night has very limited vision, especially peripheral vision. So she like said that she walks into things. And I thought, okay, maybe it's not that bad. But at some point, she just walked into something off camera and you could hear it on her mic that it was like she kind of collided into either a wall or something. But it's very upsetting. So I think I'm a little protective of her in that regard because I'm like, she told Joe about this. And I feel like anybody signing up to be with her should be sensitive to this part of her story and not be willing to play games. Like if you were going to sign on, then you had to, before the reveal, know deep down that you were just like a I don't care kind of guy, right? Like not a real picky, I have a specific phenotype, I have a specific body type, face type, hair color that I'm going for. Well, not dear old Joe. Joe somehow lied to himself And he ends up engaged to Madison, who he's not attracted to, as we learn. He finally fesses up in his little confessional. He couches it the way they always do. He goes, I usually date women who are a little bit thinner, blah, blah, blah. And by the way, Madison is curvaceous. He talks about her like she is a beached whale, honestly. And I don't think he was trying to say that, but I just... And maybe I'm just like sticking up for her too much. But I just didn't like that. Like, she's not fat, guys. Like, I think the average dress size in America is gotta be a 16. I'm gonna look this up. Yes, between a 16 and an 18. So I appreciate what you're naturally attracted to and all that, but when you enter an experiment called Love is Blind, you cannot be somebody. It's so ridiculous to me that these grown people are someone who's like, I'm really only attracted to thin women. Like, I just really don't like women with like curves or whatever. But then why did you sign up for this experiment? You've seen it before. They don't only allow skinny women into the experiment. You're setting yourself up, buddy. I don't know what to tell you. Like, have you not seen an episode of this show before where they have fuller figured women? I don't know. I'm word searching here, but I just feel like the body types that have been featured on Love is Blind are like small people. These are small people. Okay? I'm just saying. There are no obese people on this show. So the way he's reacting, and in light of her story about why she came on here in the first place, it's pissing me off. I'm not gonna lie. It's upsetting. I will give him, I guess, some smidgen of credit. I'm going to give him a little rope that he didn't write her off while they were still at the reveal. You know, he didn't just say like, absolutely not, she's not my body type. And he wants to try to make that connection between the person he fell in love with in the pods and the woman, the slightly curvier woman who's before him. Like, I'm struggling to even call her curvy. I'm not going to lie. She doesn't have some massive hips and this big old butt. You know, her stomach is not like wayfish, okay, and her face is a little fuller, but like the girl is not big. I don't know. It's just so superficial for someone who signed up for a Love is Blind competition. Like even, okay, Edmund had a great response to Calabria brought up size because Calabria is a curvy girl. She said, like, what if I'm just like chunky, like a chunky monkey or whatever? I forget what she said. And he said, and then I'm going to grab all your chunks and love them. And I really believed him in that moment because she's not thin. He's very much into her figure. Like he's a kind of a thin fit guy himself with all that energy, I guess. And he's very into the fact that she's curvier, seems to really like it. In that moment, he was able to assess that, I guess, even if she was really like chunky, right? Not just like, oh, very hourglassy, but kind of like larger, that he would still love her. And I just feel like Joe isn't that kind of guy. So why are you in this competition? Okay, moving on. But the thing about Joe that really got to me, last episode, this is episode 6, he's being a bit of a jerk to Madison at the couples reunion that they have at the resort. You can tell that he's tripping because he is like very loud. He's making a lot of jokes. He's joking on the guys. And, you know, they have their bromance and they kind of give each other a little bit of a hard time, but they also generally behave like grown adult men. Joe, on the other hand, was running around like he was at a kegger, you know, being just loud and kind of like obviously drunk in a way that was unattractive or annoying. Even my husband, who was trying not to pay attention and act like he's above reality TV, he was watching it or he was like listening, and at some point he looks up and he goes, who is that keeps talking and saying such obnoxious things? Like, it got on his nerves even though he wasn't paying attention, because Joe was just being a jerk. Like, you could tell he was getting wasted because he was uncomfortable. You could also tell that he was looking around at all the other couples and feeling some kind of way. So he excuses himself from the party, and Madison tries to stay and just have fun. But then she goes back to the room later to check on him like a good fiance. And he is gone. I'm not even going to say drunk. I don't know what was up with him. Like, I've been with some people who are sleepy. You know, there's people who are a little groggy when they wake up. And sometimes, especially after they take a deep nap in the middle of the day, they can wake up a little disoriented. But homeboy was disoriented for a long time. I'll be interested to see, because on camera, it looked like it was like a good 10 minutes that she was trying to revive him. He was being a little incoherent, not really oriented to person, place, time kind of thing, and asking her a lot the same question over and over again. By the time they actually have a little bit of a blow up about it, she says 9 times. I don't know if that's an exaggeration, but I'm hoping that when they play this back, because I really hope they play this back at the reunion, we get to see exactly how many times he asked her. But to the viewing audience, it looks like he is under the influence of something, perhaps a little more than alcohol. talking to himself, slurring his speech. So we last see poor Madison outside by the pool, in the dark, by the way, crying her little face off. I was very nervous because she can't see well in the dark, so I hope the producers got her back. I don't know how that's going to patch up, but it's like, did he get that wasted because of his dissatisfaction with the relationship? I mean, they were having sex. They were both very plain about that and not shy about it. So it's very curious to me that he's able to still sleep with her and supposedly enjoy it, but also be so bothered that she doesn't suit his typical ideal body type. Tale as old as time on this show, right? When are we going to have some guys on there who are like, I like my women thick, okay? I like them thick with like meat on the bones, cushion for the pushing, whatever it is. And I'm not talking about like a weird fetishist, but just a guy who, are we going to have any men who really not only like will tolerate curvy women, but like guys who appreciate curvaceous women? I'm tired of like these curvaceous women going on here and always feeling like last selected in the dodgeball line. You know what I mean? Because again, like there's no reason for it. They're all beautiful and none of them is like wildly out of shape or anything. So it's just an irritating little point on one of my more favorite reality shows. Like, why do we keep setting these women up for failure in this way? Like, we don't seem to have any balance between men who are really not just, I'm just gonna put up with it, but like, no, I would embrace it and find you attractive. Edmund is refreshing in his attitude. He's got other issues, but more guys like that who literally on the questionnaire are like, I would absolutely go nuts over a full-figured woman. Okay, so Megan and Jordan. Their chemistry is meh, not gonna lie. It's not super red flaggy, but it's very obvious that she is trying really hard. I'm sorry. She's talking about the tattoos, just finds, I like tattoos. She says it a few times, but then almost asks him like, well, how many do you have? And like, how far up do they go? And it's like, I don't know. I'm still not sure how to read the response to the tattoos, but we'll see. She's like, I like them. Like, but it feels like she's saying that to herself more so than us. There's chemistry. They're having sex. We'll see. But I'm not convinced that Megan is not going to eventually butt heads with this guy. And this is Sparkle Megan, lest we forget. We didn't really talk about the Megan Mike thing. Not that I think Mike was such a great person. I definitely think he had his shortcomings, namely that he just seemed really arrogant. I mean, he was not bad looking, but he just the level of cockiness was just, to me, out of proportion with what I was looking at. And this is to each his own, I just think, but he was just like sure shot Mike. Like, I don't understand what she's doing. You're going to need an EpiPen, blah, 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 when she ended things with him, instead of leading from the beginning with what just makes him a good match for her. It was more like, we're on the same page. We kind of like are the same, money. That came up a lot. And we're going to have these genetically superior children who you were going to raise with all like organic gluten-free diet. And it's going to be so great. And like, it was all very superficial. You know what I mean? I don't feel like they really talked about like the deep stuff that she got into with Jordan, which is why, that emotional connection won the day. I'm going to be very interested to see, first of all, I'm going to be interested to see Megan's house. If we don't get to see Megan's house and car after all this yapping about her lifestyle, I'm going to be very disappointed with the producers. It's like, what a setup. Like, I want to see the house. I want to see the car. I want to see all like her jewelry collection, the shoe collection. I mean, this girl talked about dating a billionaire. Okay, like, and that she's going to Lake Como to the wedding of people that the venue cost $400,000. I don't doubt any of that's true, but what I'm saying is we're gonna put this all together in a picture that fits all this. Is all I'm saying. There's a lot of talking, but for Mike, I feel like he lives, if not in a very high rent condo, he lives in like a glass house, like a very like glass facade kind of house with very angular architecture and lots of marble and granite inside. And it also like there's a Cybertruck in the front and maybe like some kind of sports car. Yeah, he just strikes me as a guy who leads with that, which is probably why he was like, Megan's perfect. They just have like their stainless steel marble dreams together. So there is yet time for them to find each other again. I need to see what this life is looking like already, what they each live like. But ultimately, with her compatibility with Jordan, I really feel like the most sincere part of their compatibility is Megan's affection before even meeting his son. It's very sweet. It's very cute. The connection there, because his son suffers from type 1 diabetes and her dad died, but he did suffer most of his life with type 1 diabetes. I think she felt like almost like the angel of her dad was bringing her to this little boy. So that was sweet, even if a little bit potentially misguided, because she kept saying he needs a mom, and I was like, is the mom out of the picture? I don't think he needs a mom, but I get the sentiment, and I think it's cute. All right. So, Casey. Let's talk about Casey, y'all. I literally, first of all, the whole time she's there, I'm like, who is this ex she speaks of? She talks about this guy that she dated. I guess she reached into his DMs or something on TikTok or Instagram. And he must be like a pretty big social media personality. So being with him probably made her feel like, I'm all that. And I get that. But she talks about him a lot for someone who's supposedly not with him, supposedly over him and ready to move on, right? They're still in communication up to the point where she leaves for the pod. So this even comes up as an issue for Patrick, because Patrick isn't a dummy. A girl who keeps talking about her ex as someone she's actively communicating with. We need to get some clarity on that, you know? So apparently Casey's ex is all like, you should go on. I guess she got offered some other dating show before Love is Blind, and he supported her going on both. But Love is Blind, no. He's not waiting for her to come home after getting her fame or whatever it is he thinks she's going to get out of a dating show. And that was important for Patrick to clarify. I still didn't trust it and still felt like she's not over him. This was her drastic move following the guy breaking her heart, more or less. I guess he was still talking to other girls and featuring other women on his Instagram or some such nonsense. He doesn't sound like a real winner as far as dating and relationships go, so I'm not sure why she even still has a friendship with him. Sounds like he treated her pretty poorly, but for whatever reason, she still has that little tie with him. And whoever she's with in the future, I'm certain that's going to be an issue. So we get to the point where Patrick and Casey, they exchange I love yous. It's hollow, because then he immediately lies, first of all, and tells her you're the only one he could have proposed to, which we know that's crap. We know, like, the day Anna left, he was probably on his way to say I love you and probably propose. I'm just saying. But he seems into Casey. There's something that makes me want to root for them. His proposal was a lot of Hallmark gobbledygook that was really hard to listen to. But I was just like, let me sit back and see what happens at this reveal, because that's really all that matters. They could talk a good game through the wall, and she could tell you all about all of her Mormon background and missionary work in Korea, and her sister's dating a Korean, and her brother's married to a Mexican, and her other sibling is married to a black person. And so her family is just like this multicultural rainbow. And it's like, great. But you've never dated outside of the white race, and so nothing wrong with that. But I'm like, let's see what happens at the reveal. That will tell all. What y'all think? I felt like, yeah. Oh gosh, that reveal was cringy as hell. I'm sorry. I really liked Patrick, and I felt a kinship with him, child of immigrants, some solidarity there. And I just felt like, God, he was besotted. He's all over her. You're so gorgeous. And she's like, you're handsome. It just didn't feel right. And it was, for me, I was like, maybe she's just nervous or something. And to me, he's a cute guy. But the fact that, like, in that last confessional after the reveal, and she's just like, look at this ring, it's such a beautiful ring. Yeah. Like, she's just very quiet, very removed. You could see she's very in her head. God knows what thoughts she's processing, but it's clear that there's not a connection for her physically. And I think she's just super focused even in that confessional on, like, what do I do now? How do I get out of this without looking like a complete, possibly racist jerk? I mean, that's a tough needle to thread. Here's this guy who's been telling you this whole time. This is his big pain point. This is his wound, that white women don't want to date him because he's Asian. And here you go, all sunshine and rainbows, happy Mormon family, and we're good. I'm multicultural, yay. And I'm like, well, so did she think he was going to be an Asian guy that doesn't look Asian? Like, why is she not into him? Does his breath stink? Sometimes I wonder about that, because I'm like, why don't you tell us these things? I don't think it would be unfair. Like, if I ran through that reveal and, like, the gingivitis was kicking, I'd be like, he's lovely, however... I just feel like if there is, like, a very concrete and relatable reason, I'd love to know it. But from where I'm sitting, girl, race is what's coming into play here. You just cannot see yourself with this Chinese man, because he's not ugly. He has a nice smile. He's tall, significantly taller than her. And I think I mean, this is obviously on camera, but he even appears to be above average height for the Chinese population. He's not a shorty. So taller than her in heels. Nice, warm, I would say, personally, I think, cute face. No crazy facial features in terms of like out of proportion things. A balanced face, a strong jawline, seemingly decent teeth. I couldn't smell his breath through the camera, but I'm just going through my mind of like what is not clicking for her, whatever it is. Obviously, attraction is chemistry, but whatever it is, I think it's impossible for her to make me believe that it has nothing to do with the fact that she's not into the idea of dating a Chinese man or being with a Chinese man. So not when he made such a big deal about this. Like, I don't know. Y'all can tell me I'm wrong. Y'all can tell me I'm wrong for sure. I'm open to hearing why I'm wrong, that there's something else. But the immediate change that she has, she tried to hide the fact that she wants to break up with him. You know, we see this little sad looking confessional situation with sweats on, and we're like, uh-oh. You know, they're in like this little cafeteria looking meeting area at the basement of the women's hotel, and the producers are like, so what happened exactly? And you're like, whoa. I don't know. I guess she told the producers the truth. Which is that I'm not attracted to him. I don't see this growing at all when we go to Mexico. I'm not going to become more attracted to this guy. He's nice, but no. Then when she talks to him, this is what pisses me off about her. Because like that, telling the truth, you're always going to be able to get some points for telling the truth, even if it's a difficult truth for someone to hear, right? But that she turns around after telling the producers straight up, like, yeah, didn't do it for me. I don't see it for me. I couldn't go to Mexico because I'm just not into him, and I don't see that getting any better spending more time with him. Like, she made it clear she doesn't plan to date him back in Denver. And then she turns around, and when he comes down to talk to her, she doesn't have the courage, the guts, the chutzpah to just be like, this is not it for me. I think you deserve someone just who is head over heels. Like, everything she said to the producer, that, you know, maybe she is a rotten person at her core. She even said that. She was like, I'm just not a good enough person. Like, probably not. You know, you probably need to go work on that before you go into an experiment called Love is Blind. Also, like, that she doesn't plan to see him when they get back. He's fully on board for, if you don't want to go to Baja, that's cool, thinking it's just the pressure of being filmed and that she wants to slow things down and all that. And God bless him that he was so open-minded, because he's still just so into her. And she then decides, instead of telling him the truth, to let him run with this narrative that she's just overwhelmed by it all. Poor guy. And then she keeps kissing him and jumping all over him, and then getting to the door and then running back and jumps into his arms again. And I was like, what is this? You're breaking up with this man, and yet you haven't had the balls to break up with him, okay, and tell him it is over. No, don't look me up on Instagram. I am not interested in being with you. Please do not try to contact me anymore. I have a feeling we're going to get to the reunion and find out that she's like, oh, yeah, well, I guess, like, he's like, well, I have your last name. I can just look you up on Instagram, right? And she's like, oh, yeah, shoot, crap. You can see that she was like, I don't know how we're going to talk to each other. Like, I don't have your phone number. Oh, shucks. And we don't have our phones. And he was just like, I'll just look you up on Instagram. And she goes, crud. You can just see her feeling like, all right, I guess I'll have to block him. Yeah, I'll be interested to see at the reunion if they actually ever utter another word to each other after the moment where they separate. And poor Patrick is just standing out there, optimism flowing, and he's just like, yeah, she's a little overwhelmed, so, you know, it's okay, it's all right, I don't need to go to Baja because, like, I got the girl, and unless y'all want to take me to Baja, he's joking. And there's just a split second where he goes, like, well, that's what she told you guys, right? Like, that she's just, like, tired of filming and just wants to go back. Like, did she tell you something different? So you know that his inner gut voice intuition is speaking to him and trying to prepare him for the blow that is coming. Thankfully, we don't get to see the full fallout, I guess, after she's lied to him and gotten his hopes up for continuing the relationship in Denver. And then, obviously, she's not going to follow through on that. So I wonder if Casey's going to be at the Pod Squad reunion. I wonder if Patrick's going to be there. Well, yeah, he is going to be there, I believe. That I saw that in the previews. And yeah, she just really came off as a person who is very shallow and was very much lying to herself when she signed up for this show. She was definitely looking for someone who fit a certain mold, and she forced herself to try it, and it didn't work. So I guess in that sense, she's not the devil, but she is like the answer that love is not blind, right? Looks matter to a lot of people. I think between her and Joe, they are very much proving the point that love is not blind. We're going to have some probably, possibly, maybe successes in terms of couples, at least maybe one or two, who knows? But we definitely have had enough people to prove that love is not blind. Love is not immune to the pressures of society that generally still prefers to not see a ton of interracial dating. I mean, that's the society we live in. And that's sad for Patrick, because I felt like there was a part of him that was feeling really validated, like on a personhood validation level after the reveal, to see this very attractive blonde woman telling him he's handsome and that he's cute and that she likes him. So that sucks for him. Interestingly, Asian men get this ridiculously bad rap in the dating world. I don't know if some of you have ever read this or heard this, but years ago I came across, I think it was actually a study, and I don't know if it was paid for by one of the major dating sites, like maybe Match.com or whatever, eHarmony or one of them. But they basically concluded that in the world of dating, Asian men and Black women are on the least desirable end of the spectrum, which is wild to me. I was really? But have they seen some Asian men? I don't know. I mean, people come in all shapes and sizes and whatnots, but I mean, talk about cheekbones and jawlines and, just beautiful eyes. I don't know. What's not to like? It's such a weird thing to just say that a whole group of people is just undesirable because societal stereotypes have brainwashed us to not being able to use our eyes and our own judgment and our brains. Black women are undesirable. Says who? The way that society and norms and fashion and everything just emulates the hell out of Black women. But then you try to convince Black women that they're not attractive either. I mean, okay. Y'all feel that way. I don't know. That wasn't my experience on dating apps. And also, in general, it's just a farcical notion. People, literally do things physically to their bodies to try to emulate the things that Black women are just we woke up like this. And I'm going to include myself in that. And I don't have all of these features, but I'll just give a few. Curly hair or textured, wavy, voluminous hair with volume that doesn't just sit flat. Melanin, broad category. Sure, there's different varying degrees, but what's more beautiful than a super deep toned Senegalese woman? Just who's messing with that? And then full lips, high cheekbones, larger eyes, and and don't get me started on the BBLs. Not to stereotype Black women and say all of them have this just giant behind, but it's just laughable to me how in fashion now it is to have a shapely backside. They even make a big deal about Sparkle Megan having a dumpy and a wagon, and I was what qualifies as a wagon these days, number one? And number two, I mean, her butt is totally fine, but let's all calm down. Let's just calm down and pump the brakes, okay? I mean, it's a decent and proportionate backside, okay? But dumpy? Be serious. But yeah, these are all the attributes. Curves, a butt, tan skin, people just putting brown sauce all over themselves to try to look like women of color. Yeah, I just hate that statistic. The idea that Black women are supposed to feel undesirable. And obviously I'll throw Asian men in here in our boat too. And it's also interesting that these two groups that are very marginalized in the dating world don't seem to find each other very often. It's not common to see a Black woman with an Asian man. And I just never understood that. I mean, except maybe in Jamaica. Definitely a lot of half Black and Chinese people running around Jamaica. And man, they're stunning. Tyson Beckford is of Jamaican and Chinese ancestry. So there you go. Proof in the pudding right there. But okay, enough about Patrick and Casey. So further stuff in Baja. We're going to talk about Anton and Allie. Allie? She goes by Allie. Anton and Allie. They have some cute moments. Okay. But they also have an awkward one where he tells her that the engagement ring he bought her was $5,000. And he's saying it like almost like a bit of a flex. Like, oh, that $5,000 ring on your hand. And she's like, $5,000? Like, you could tell the rest of that sentence was like, or the rest of that thought was, is that all this costs? They didn't really focus on the ring, and they never really do. And that's totally okay because the ring is not the most important thing in a marriage. Like, it's nice to have a big sparkly ring and make all your friends jealous if that's the kind of person you are. I have no judgments negative about that. But there's the most important thing is the marriage and the relationship, and there's always room to upgrade later if you want. Like, right? Like I guess your 5 or 10 or whatever your anniversary, just upgrade later. But anyway, she looks down with great disappointment at this $5,000 like disgusting thing on her hand. She's like, it should have been 10,000, which I'm like, where did you get that number from? Exactly. Conventional wisdom last I checked was that your engagement ring should be 3 months salary, which obviously varies a ton for people. So someone who is checking groceries and working as a cashier, 3 months of their salary is going to be vastly different from some top executive. And I think that's the point, guys. So we don't know what Anton's salary is, but he kind of hints at the idea by saying, he hints that he's not a wealthy man by saying to her, well, if you wanted a $10,000 ring, you're pretty much like with the wrong guy. So I think they're very cute. I think they actually are a very handsome couple together. And I think that because of some of their common background, they have potential to mesh their families very well and have like a really nice life. But the financial thing may get in the way. She's a stunning Brazilian woman who knows what she's used to dating. I would kindly remind her that hasn't exactly worked out for you, and that's what brought you to this experiment. So keep an open mind. But yeah, I don't know what 3 months of Anton's salary looks like, but $5,000 was it for him, and that's something that I think was kind of a rude thing for her to say. But they're engaged. So, and the other part of it is they got engaged very early on in the experiment. I almost forgot to say as a point, which leads me to believe that they did not spend a lot of time talking about finances, in the in-depth way that maybe some of the other couples had a chance to do. So maybe that's why this is coming up now that they're spending more time together, and I hope they can work it out because money is a very important thing to agree on as a couple. And if you don't agree on it, you absolutely should not get married. Like, zero chance in my book that you're going to be successful with two people who disagree about how to spend money, how to save money, etc. Disaster waiting to happen. Okay. Last but not least, I feel like I need a break for this one. No. Edmund and Calabria. Okay, I love Calabria. I'm not going to lie. She hasn't done anything to red flag me or I don't know. I just love her. She just seems like a kind, patient spirit. She has way more patience than I do. I'm not a patient spirit at all. I'm an impatient spirit. And the Lord is still working on me. But while he does, Edmund could never. I could never with him. I would run away. He just sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes their chemistry is so cute. Like, he has this earnestness in his heart, and you know that he wants a family. He wants that steadiness. He wants that togetherness with someone. And I love that about him. It's so cute. He brings her these cute gifts when they get to Baja. He knew her shoe size. You know what I'm saying? So here's somebody who's listening. Unlike some of these other guys who were just I love you, marry me, without really getting to know their partner. And, I don't know. I felt like he definitely loves her. I think he has undoubtedly strong feelings for her, or maybe he has stronger feelings for her than he has for anyone in the past. We didn't get too much into past relationships with Edmund. Calabria mentioned some stuff, but Edmund didn't talk about like a lot of past girlfriends and stuff like that, So I wonder, have there been past girlfriends, Edmund? I don't know. It's giving not a ton of relationship experience, and I'll get to why. Okay, so they had some funny moments after the shoes, and she's very taken aback by the thoughtfulness of the gesture, and she's going to give him gifts and stuff like that, and they're cute. And then on her part, what issues I see Calabria potentially having with Edmund. He's not like a very manly man. Not to say physicality or anything. I mean, just she wanted him to kill a bug that got into their room, and he just outright refused. He was like, no, it's good. See, and he just like waves it off. Let me tell you, we could do an hour-long interview with my husband about how he is the chief bug killer in the house, period. And I don't know why, but like, and he always has great timing that when I spot a big nasty bug, like some kind of spider or something, something yucky, I do not like insects. I guess I could use the P word a little bit of an insect phobia. Not so much outside, when they're outside in the nature, because we're in a very woodsy area. Our property is extremely woodsy. When they're out there minding their business, I'm not running around trying to crush beetles. It's not that. It's when they make their way inside the house, which can happen, right? A house has windows and doors, and anytime one of those is open, and even through, they're just so flexible and disgusting. But anyway, at various times, you may find an insect indoors, no matter how much you pay Arrow to turn your home into a toxic, super fun site for insects. I know our Arrow guy be like, leave me alone. I'm like, call them! I saw a spider. And the Arrow guy's like, how many times do I have to tell you about spiders? They don't self-groom. They don't live in nests. There's no way to just murder all the spiders. By the way, peppermint. Peppermint works wonders keeping them away. Just saying. But we've been here a number of years, so it took me some time to learn some of these things. And they definitely like to come inside at particular times of year. But I digress. She calls Edmund into the bathroom to kill this bug. He outright refuses. He's like, it's fine. I would never get a wink of sleep in this room, knowing this insect is flying about. And she said exactly what I would have thought, which was how am I supposed to sleep now? This thing is going to be coming at my face potentially while I'm sleeping. And, just, ugh. And he's just like, I feel like she said more than thrice that what she wants out of a man is not so much money or any of that. What she wants out of a man, besides companionship, is protection. She wants to feel, I guess she's been strong womaning it for a long time. That strong black woman thing, you can see it's weighing heavily on her shoulders. And she has openly expressed a desire to have a man who is comfortable helping her relax, being the man so that she can say, all right, cool, and rest in her feminine. A lot of women feel this way. And a lot of black women are like, I'm tired of being strong. I don't want to be strong anymore. I'm strong my whole life. I just want to be taken care of. As someone who is in that category, I very much enjoy being alpha and boss lady and making decisions and self-determinant in my career. I do not have any interest in that in the home. So I really, really vibed with Calabria on kill this bug, my dude. Kill the bug. So unless it was against his religion, which he never expressed, there was no reason for him not to kill this bug. Except maybe he's afraid of it too, which would be funny, but he didn't admit that. So that's why I'm not going to let him off on that, because he didn't say, actually, I hate bugs too, so we're going to have to figure something else out. Then they had this weird conversation later on, which is what I feel was Calabria's way of circling back to this manliness, protector thing about being at a party with a guy who, she's holding his hand, but said guy rolls up and just puts his hands on her and tries to, grab her and be, I would say, exceptionally aggressive. And I think she's trying to get Edmund to say, yeah, I would stand up for you. You're my woman. I wouldn't just let some random come and put his hands on you and touch you. And I think she's not necessarily looking for him to be like, oh, I'll put that guy on a stretcher. I'll put him in an ambulance. I think she's more just looking for him to assert his interest in defending her out in the world. This is something that I can relate to. I mean, I think all women probably feel this way. But I also especially think a black woman of a certain age who's been fending for herself out in the world. She's got multiple degrees and she's pretty well accomplished working in social work and, out here just making it happen for herself, but probably not feeling very, very protected. Society definitely does not protect black women as just a general rule of thumb in terms of protecting our preciousness, and so, yeah, it's nice inside the home to have a guy who is going to protect you, stand up for you. So I would never have tried to bait a man into saying, yes, I would fight for you, but I definitely would not see myself with a guy who in no way would be willing to fight for me. You know what I mean? You can be a pacifist for the most part, but there is a time sometimes where physicality is required. Just saying. He's like, oh, I'd call security. And I'm like, that's all well and good. But when his paws are already on your woman, like, either tell me like something like you would grab. It was just so weird. He refused to just intervene. If your woman is being pawed on by some random, maybe you don't get into an altercation with him. But like, maybe I was expecting him to say, I would grab you and stand between you and this man. You know? Anyway, he definitely failed that test, even if it was a silly test. And it was like strike number 2 on being a protector. And they're definitely not seeing eye to eye on the premarital sex thing. So this is more of an Edmund thing. I tend to agree with Calabria that if you're just not into, like, it's been a couple weeks they've been talking, they just met each other physically. A lot of the couples had sex on night 1. You know, the prude in me, I felt like that's like more social pressure from just the show itself to test the merchandise. And maybe just like a lot of built up sexual tension when they talk dirty to each other through those walls, you know? They do that a lot. So I know there's, you know, a little bit of each of those. But there are some women who come to the paradise, wherever that is, and they refuse to engage sexually in that moment. And I don't think all of them are like not until marriage, but some of them are. I believe there was a couple, like, was it last season in America or 2 seasons ago in America that did not? I mean, they said they did not sleep together until the wedding. And, you know, more power to them. But it's important to agree on that. And if your partner is not interested in sleeping with you, Edmund's reaction was so unhinged. I was actually disappointed to see in the upcoming season preview that they're still together. Because that dude broke down in tears, okay, over the fact that I guess they were talking about past sexual life. And for some reason, I'm not sure why, Calabria thought it was smart to tell this man who was probably like very horny to tell him that she's had one night stands. And so sex for her, it varies and she hasn't done it in a long time, but sometimes she can have this very connected, very important sexual interaction with people. And then there's the throwaways that she's had. That comment about one night stands sent him. He was no longer able to contain his rage over the fact that at one point she's slept with randoms just because, and now they're here engaged and she's not interested in sleeping with him. He's taking it personally. And beyond that, which, because I can understand him being like, I'm taking this a little personal. I mean, for someone who's had one night stands, you know, it's hard not to maybe internalize and say, is it me? If the person is not interested in being physical with you. Although I still think if she slept with 3,000 people, it's still her prerogative to be like, but today I'm not sleeping with anyone else until I get married. I think that is 100% a valid thing to say. Do I think it was smart for her to tell him that she's had one night stands in that moment? No, I do not. But again, bodily autonomy, 100%. So yeah, she could have told him that and he should have been able to handle it. He doesn't. He falls apart like I don't even know what to describe. What the dude was sobbing. And again, my husband, who tries to pretend he's not seeing this stuff, because he'd be like on his laptop, you know, and then like every once in a while I look over and I could see him staring directly at the TV. Fingers have stopped tapping. he's trying to act like he's not invested at all in the garbage that I'm watching. But his eyes were glued because he was like, what is wrong with this guy? Sobbing that she wouldn't sleep with him. And I'm like, do you think this is going to move the needle in any way, Edmund? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was like, what about this makes you think that she'll be like, you know what? Gosh, she really broke down like whatever barrier I had by just completely breaking down like that in front of me. And now I'm just so turned on that it's a go, Edmund. It's a go. Like, now's the moment. You've broken down my will to say no. Sorry. I don't know. I was like, wait, and also, like, the other guys, that's the other thing. Like, the other guys, when he brought it up as a point of contention, did not understand where he was coming from. None of them agreed with him. They were like, yeah, we haven't known each other very long. Maybe respect our boundaries. Everyone has different reasons for not wanting to move forward with physical intimacy. just see how it goes. But it's not your prerogative to try and push it. And in fact, some of them, you could see they were kind of like, ooh, it was a little gross. Like, calm down. Sex is not the only thing in a relationship. Just work on the connection and maybe that will come. And if not, well, what's so horrible about it coming after marriage? And he's just like, if I don't hit, I can't get married to somebody if I don't hit. First of all, I hate that terminology. Yeah, he's insistent that he can never marry someone he hasn't slept with yet, which I understand. A lot of people, probably I'd say the majority of people feel that way. But this is kind of a special circumstance, and it's like day 2 or 3. You need to let her, like, give her some time. Maybe, how do you know when y'all get back to Denver, she's in less stressful, more familiar surroundings, that she doesn't suddenly feel like she's in the mood? It's just weird that he just would not give her space. And it leads me to wonder how long it's been for him. Or if he's like a virgin. Because something is off here. Very, very off. So the tears and the crying, she is obviously a gangster and must know karate or something, because the way that I would not be turning over to sleep in a bed with someone who just broke down like that over not being able to have sex with me, like, we're not going to share a room. I would be like, producers, this guy, get him out of here. Get him out of here. I don't feel safe. Like, after that performance, I would be afraid to wake up and find Edmund, like, I'm not accusing him of anything, don't get me wrong, but it was just a strange vibe how he went from like 0 to 100 about this topic, and she just kept her calm, social worker style, was like, okay, I'm done, rolled over and went to bed, and like left him hanging on the topic. We'll see. But again, I was disappointed after that outburst to see that they seem like they're still together. And the season preview on Netflix is her in a wedding dress, and she looks stunning. But I don't know. After this episode, I'm kind of off Edmund. I don't know if he sees a therapist. He's got some work to do. We're all weirdos, by the way. I'm a weirdo. But there comes a point in your life where you have to own your weird and do something about your weird if it is derailing relationships in your life. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So I think we covered everyone in Baja. I'm just anxiously awaiting, Wednesday to see what's going on. I'm going to have, obviously I have surgery this week, so keep up with probably some late night decompression, a little post-op decompression on Wednesday, and kick on a little Love is Blind, see what's what. I can't wait. Like, I'm really excited because this is actually a decent setup for some of the fun and messy drama. Things I'm looking forward to the most, we already know, the Pod Squad reunion. We can, for me, pretty much fast forward over a lot of crap, but I definitely want to see what happens with who says yes and who says no at the altar. Just give it to me straight, no chaser. I don't even need to meet a single bridesmaid. Really, truly, I promise. It should be interesting. Right on down to the reunion. Thank you so much for listening. That is our episode for the day. I hope that you have a great rest of your week. And please be looking out for my update. Our next episode will be covering the next batch of Love is Blind episodes. And we also have a bonus episode coming up for the last 2 episodes of Sirens, as well as I'm planning a bonus episode to discuss Marvel Zombies with none other than my favorite resident Marvel lover, my wonderful husband Quentin. This fall is going to be exciting because Stranger Things is coming back, and if you are a sci-fi person like me, then that show is very near and dear to your heart with all that 80s nostalgia and all like that. So anyway, thanks for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe to the podcast on wherever you get your podcast, wherever you're listening right now, and also share with your friends, share with someone you think might enjoy our little group chats. As always, thank you so much for listening. Bye.